What's up? I'm Drew Paul Bell, and today I want to talk about where architecture is going. Okay, now these are some ideas that I struggle to put into words and convey very cleanly, but I'm going to try right here, right now, and we're going to see how this goes. So, the first thing I want to explain is that it's something that the dean of my College of Architecture and Construction Management explained to me when I was in architecture school. So shout out to Dean Richard Cole for putting it this way. He said that in architecture, beneath all the theory and the vagueness and ambiguity and the interpretations of it, when you really strip it down, we have to accept the fact that there is a difference between public space and private space. And architecture is simply the membrane that divides those two different spaces. Now, I think this definition of architecture is really important considering where we find ourselves at as a culture, as a global society right now, because what's changing because of the internet is largely our privacy. It's the way that we relate to each other. That privacy is beginning to kind of break down a little bit. It's beginning to downsize. Back in the day, before the time of the internet, you could go to your house, close the doors, close the windows, and completely be alone. No one would pick on you or threaten to fight you. You didn't have to worry about how you were relating to the rest of the world. But today, because we all have our Facebook page up or our Instagram feed out there or our YouTube channel on display on the internet for the rest of the world to see, we constantly have our identity vulnerable in the public realm in a particular way, in a digital sense, but it's still affecting the way that we perceive the world, the way that we perceive culture, and is affecting our psychology, which is going to then in turn affect the architecture that we crave, the kind of buildings that we want to occupy, right? Our styles that we're gonna focus on and build up. So, if people ask, where's architecture going? They want to know, like, man, is it about sustainability? Is it about modernism? Is it about whatever? I think that the thing that architecture is going to be about now, more than ever, is going to be about this barrier, this membrane, the boundary between public space and private space. Now, of course, it was always about this to some extent, but what the difference between now and, say, 50 years ago is that now this is beginning to, I don't think break down is the right word, because it's still going to definitely be there. As human beings, I think that's so ingrained in our being, we need that privacy. It's never going to go away completely, I don't think. But I think it's going to become more and more skimpy, okay? And I like that word skimpy to describe what we're seeing right now, because it brings with it sort of connotation of that it reveals a lot, but it's very selective about what it reveals. Okay, so the reason why I think this is actually a great word to kind of conceptualize this change is because if you actually look at the way that we present ourselves online, it is actually very curated, right? Because everyone loves to sit at home and say everything's out on the internet. You're exposing your grandparents, shaming the little kids because they really need to be careful about all this stuff that they're putting out online. But you don't put anything out online that you don't want to put out online. You know, like it's not everything that anyone ever does that's posted up there. It's very curated. You see people complain that like people just make their lives look really good based off what they put online, or people just go online to complain, right, and just dump their negative energy everywhere. It's not that we're living in a complete glass house, totally transparent to everything and everybody out there. But we are intentionally choosing what we put out into the public, and it's just that we're putting out more now than people were before the internet. So, how does this relate to architecture? The question that architecture and architects are going to have to answer is, how is the built environment going to respond to these psychological changes that we have popping up in culture today? And I think what we're going to see is a more skimpy kind of a play with that membrane between public and private. I think we're going to reveal a lot more. I don't think it's going to be everything, but I think that we're going to see that boundary begin to sort of deteriorate to an extent. And it's the way it deteriorates that provides the opportunity for great new designs. What I mean by that is that it's within this context that we can think of new ways of doing things. How do you actually achieve privacy in a bathroom? Do you have to have concrete CMU walls all the way around to be private? Or can you have like a translucent sliding glass door on next to the tub that then you can slide open and look out onto your property from the bathtub? You know? Point is, I think that there can be some really cool ideas that come out of this. And this is going to be the general theme, I believe, for architecture in the coming decades. And I think we see this now as well. I think something I've noticed more, maybe I've just started noticing more architecture, but I see things on like Modern Homes Atlanta tours where they have like a tub in a corner with glass everywhere in a house. And so that kind of visual access to the outside world from such a private space, yet controlled, I think this speaks to the changes that we're beginning to see pop up in society and culture today. So, but the way that architecture responds to this kind of stylistic ism that architecture is about to move into, I think that's going to be a result of dealing with this theme. What it's going to look like, what exactly it's going to be, I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows. But it's in dealing with this that we're going to be able to look back and say, that's what architecture was about back in the 2010s. So, let me know what you think about this idea. Does this make sense to you? Do you agree that this is maybe going to be the issues that architecture is dealing with going forward? Or do you think it's going to be something else? I want to hear what you have to say, because this is a discussion that's going to have to happen amongst architects in general, right? Everybody has to kind of chime in, say what they think it's going to be through talking on YouTube channels, on comments, but also in what they design and the built environment. So I hope you can join in this discussion, and I want to hear what you think. So I'll talk to you next time, and I hope this helps.